Welcome to Mindshock. This is your host, Bruce McGuire, and we are now live for the Q&A 3, the second one of the day. Dave Scott and the True Few in here, Russell B. Cook. Dave Scott got this notification. Yeah, that's weird. Trying to figure out when YouTube puts out notifications versus not. Dark Side of the Moon also got the notification. I'm back for some more chatting. David Stanley with the first question of the live Q&A 3. Is the Earth a globe? Well, in order to know that, there's quite a few things you would have to do. So, David Stanley, did you listen to Q&A 1 or 2? I went over how that question could be answered. Hello, Mark Collins. Since nobody else has asked another question, I have an interesting experiment one can do in order to definitively prove whether or not the Earth is a globe as purported, with the purported dimensions and continent sizes. You'd have to fly a plane at really low altitude with maybe even a 360 camera, live streaming, with colored exhaust. So, for example, you would fly a plane from Antarctica to the southern tip of South America, let's say a pink exhaust trail that would stay in the sky for many hours. And then from Antarctica to the tip of South Africa with, let's say, a blue exhaust and green exhaust to Australia. And a yellow exhaust to New Zealand, and maybe even islands in between all those continents. Then you need line of sight boats, so dozens and dozens of boats spread out in between the tips of all those continents and Antarctica, so you'd have line of sight verification of the colored exhaust flying from the planes. And then also set up dozens and dozens of drones just flying around in between the planes so they can verify the colored exhaust on each side. And it might not be cheap, but it's a simple way to verify all that. Hello, Rune. You often speak of Flat Earth as a psyop, but what evidence and arguments do you think is better pro-globe? The best pro-globe arguments? It all depends on how you're going to mount the argument, but most of them, if you're not going to verify base layers, you'd be hard-pressed to do it. For example, if it's flat or globe, if the surface is convex, it could be a curved surface even on a flat plane. So a good argument for a curved surface wouldn't necessarily be a good argument for a globe, and it wouldn't disqualify a flat plane either. Our Barley 18, Bruce, do you honestly think we will ever find out what happened to Maura Murray? What is your opinion? What happened? I seriously believe she ran off. I think we will, actually. Lies have speed, but the truth has endurance. The amount of information that has come out just this past year alone in the Maura Murray case, I think, has been more than any other year. Now, again, a lot of it's rumors or whatnot, but there's still so much coming out that it's not like completely ice cold case like other cases where it'd be more difficult to say, to have hope. But with the Maura Murray case, I think there's enough information and enough new information constantly coming out that it's very possible we will find out what happened. Did she run off? I don't know. I think even if she intended to run off, that doesn't mean she did, and obviously UMass should be the starting point. Hello, Lightwalkers. Sue Ellen Dornbos. Greetings, all. Thanks for all of your hard work and helpful info, Bruce. Changing my life in good ways. Love. Good to know. Very, very happy to hear that. Rune, we would just need a single plane to cross Antarctica in a straight line. But the problem with a single plane is how can you verify where it's going in relation to all the other land masses? Meg loves cute, got a notification. Okay, good. So that's good. Olive Meal, I have a question. Do you really believe that RJ is a government guy, or is that a comedy? You mean JR? Yeah, I believe he does work for the government. I kind of talked about, first of all, if he doesn't work for the government, then he must spend all his time studying, because he has obscure references to files that I've never even heard of, whether it's UFOs or whatever. There's so many obscure references. Not only that, but his knowledge of basic day-to-day government operation, like the boring stuff, everything from accounting in the State Department and how various agencies get their paychecks and that it says State Department. I mean, not that this is stuff a lot of people know, but I haven't seen people that know both the mundane, boring day-to-day stuff and also all these obscure top-secret files. Now, it's very possible he's just a janitor for the Park Service, like I brought this up a lot, where maybe he overheard stuff or he's buddy-buddy with other people. But working for the government doesn't mean I don't know if I believe that he's top-secret CIA or something. I mean, I don't know if somebody like that would pick a podcast like this, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was a janitor for the Park Service who maybe hears stuff around the water cooler. The True Few flying over Antarctica will be the final test. Well, yeah, you'd have to have multiple planes, though. Russell, someone came into my stream talking about Flat Earth last night. I told them to check out Mindshock. Yeah, thank you. Run Boston Bear. Howdy, Bruce. I enjoy your work. Great to hear. Thank you. Yeah, I've seen you around a lot. Run Boston Bear. May Brussels Project just stopped by to say how much respect for you and your research. Thank you. And I'm still in the middle of researching quite a few things on May Brussels, including the Falklands War, which is quite the rabbit hole that a lot of people don't go down. But that's, yeah, it's definitely needs an extensive podcast. Art Bar 18, I always felt humans are alien ape hybrids. Think that's crazy. Not necessarily, but I mean, the amount of information lacking there in order to even say whether it's crazy or not. I mean, we're not going to appeal to incredulity. Olive Meal, I disagree respectfully. JR seems like a poser dork. Well, I mean, if he's some guy in his mom's basement just reading countless government files, I mean, maybe he could fake it. Run Boston Bear, what's your breakdown of the Moan deal? Reeks of psyop to me. I don't know. There were people commenting about it that were supposedly saw some streams before any of this went public, so I don't know. Well-regulated watch reviews. Do you think JM's new podcast coming out will be anything other than an outlet to bitch about James Renner? You talking about Julie Murray? I don't know. Julie Murray's hard to read as well. Can anyone share who JR is the government agent that co-hosts with me occasionally. He never stated his real name, so I don't know if that's either a combination of his first name and middle name, or if he has his father's name and JR is just kind of for Junior and he just uses that moniker. Run Boston Bear, seeking the truth in all things and trying to communicate about it without using fallacy. It's tough. It is tough, isn't it? Thank you, May Brussel. I mean, I have dozens and dozens of podcasts I'm working on simultaneously, and a lot of people wanted me to do more Q&As, and I I thought it'd be a little easier just to do them like this instead of responding to countless emails and comments in YouTube, although I'll still try to do that. Olive Meal Bruce, do you believe in Jesus? And if yes, do you think we are in Satan's little season, or do you believe our current time is premillennial? Oh, man. Like I said in the first two Q&As, I'm not really into believing or disbelieving things. Either there's enough evidence, a burden of proof is met for a particular theory, or there isn't. As of right now, everything you just said, theoretically, any or multiple of those things could be true. Dave, do you meditate? If so, how often? Yes, kind of cyclical. Sometimes a lot, sometimes not a lot. Pinto Sack, have you ever taken an IQ test? Yeah, I've taken a bunch. I don't want to hurt people's feelings by revealing the numbers, but I don't believe that that's an accurate test of intelligence anyway, so I don't really talk about that. Sid Irwin, who co-hosts with me sometimes, his IQ is off the charts. R. Barley 18, where did you get the tunnel in front info in the Delphi case? I've followed it a ton. You were the only person that I've heard bring that up. I can't believe they weren't ever moved, and that could be the key. Yes, it could. I should probably premiere that episode as well, just to keep awareness up about that. I don't remember. Probably Reddit reference. Somebody either mentioned it on Reddit, Twitter, or in YouTube comments, and I just found links to the newspaper articles about it, but there's very little information about it, and mostly just commenters who live in the area. Olive Meal, Bruce, are you Christian or not? I do not subscribe to any religions, but I do like reading the Bible. Well-regulated watch reviews. I would also love to see you cover the Andrew Gosden case from the UK. The amount of appeal to authority going on in that case is unreal, despite the authorities failing at every turn. Yeah, there's a lot of cases like that, yeah. So on Drumbos, thanks Bruce, only found you 3 days ago. I'm connected to Kathy O'Brien. Oh wow. Shanda Vander Ark, Jim Baker Evangelist, a West Michigan runaway. Yeah, I just uploaded an outline of Kathy O'Brien's book, and I talk about this on the JonBenet Ramsey podcast as well. The info that Kathy O'Brien brought forward before any of this happened, both in the JonBenet Ramsey case and all of the info that came out on the internet many years later, it's pretty uncanny. Olive Meal, Bruce, do you believe the Bible when you read it? Again, I don't really believe or disbelieve anything. So, I mean, I think whoever translated it was trying to describe things that there might not have been accurately translated words for. Like, for example, in the Ark, was the Ark a data bank where all the DNA codes of all the animals were? Because you could easily fit, I mean, if the technology was advanced enough, you could put DNA sequences on a really big hard drive and fit that on any boat, just as an example. So a lot of what is in the Bible, again, I don't disbelieve or believe per se, although there's a lot of good advice in there about corrupt authorities and how to avoid falling into the trap of a materialistic world and corrupt rulers and oppressors. So it's a very useful book, that's for sure. People just fall into the trap of wanting to either believe or disbelieve, which is the whole point of this podcast, is objective, logical, neutral analysis without falling into any of these traps or any sides. All right, Barley, I still hope you get around to the Jeff Davis Jennings 8 has Mindshock. Yeah, I did start researching that case. I don't know if you're the first one or only one who requested that, but every time I get a request, I open up a new research folder and I start amassing data for it. So pretty much I should be getting to everything ever requested. It's just going to take a while because I do it in bits and pieces. Olive Meal, Bruce, have you ever heard of the uncorrupt bodies of the saints? In reference to what? Like literally? Like, I'm not sure what you mean by that question. Seems like we get the same amount of viewers no matter when I do these lives, because I did one earlier today and last night, and we're all around 30 for most of them. With most people not getting notifications, although it seems like a number of people did get notifications for this one. Yes, literally, they don't rot. Oh, okay. Yeah, I have not researched that. Where am I from? I am from beyond time and space. I might not even be in this dimension. Who's the smartest person you know? Personally or on the internet? I'm ready for any Scott Peterson so-called evidence. Yeah, I need another episode in that series. I'll be doing one shortly. Bruce, have you looked into the work being done at the channels at Ether, Cosmology, and Space Audits? They are flat earthers going deep into the science. Yeah, a little while ago. I mean, there's only so much time in the day. Even though I exist outside of time and space, other people don't. Pintosag, both. Smartest part. Yeah, that's tough. In what category and what kind of intelligence? Because it's hard to answer that question. I mean, I guess you mean just across the board of everything, like smartest person I've ever known to exist, and the smartest person I ever met in real life. I mean, perhaps we can get a little philosophical here, but if you're too smart, is that smart? Because then if you can't really live day-to-day life normally without going insane, because a lot of people that went insane, perhaps they were too intelligent, they were too smart. So if you know that information, would you intentionally not become as smart as possible, as it's possible to become, to save yourself, and would that be the smartest option? But yeah, I mean, Nikola Tesla, if he existed, I mean, quite smart, obviously, just going through what is purported to be his writings. In person, I don't know, Sid Irwin's pretty smart. He co-hosts the podcast sometimes. Or Barley 18. I didn't get a notification, I just got lucky and seen it when looking at my subscription section. The truth for you, Austin Whitsitt. Austin Whitsitt's very smart, and his debating skill is second to none. But again, that's obviously related to intelligence, but that's not exactly the same thing. Thanks, Run Boston Bear. I enjoy your debate breakdowns on the channel. Thank you for your work. Yep. I've said this so many times, I'm so surprised. Like, a lot of people, they want like 1 million followers. I'm so surprised to even be at over 30,000 subscribers. I didn't think there'd be that many people interested in strict logical application to all topics. Actually, let me rephrase that. I think there probably are at least 1 million people out there, but I just didn't think they'd be able to find this channel. Like, even 30,000 finding the channel is kind of a lot. I mean, I don't know. Well-regulated watch reviews. What do you believe is most likely to have happened to Maura Murray? We're at 20 years in a week. See, the problem is with most likely. Is there enough information to deduce likelihoods? But if we're not going to fall for being a coincidence theorist, it seems like there's multiple agency overlap. So something happened that involved several different things. Otherwise, the case would either be solved or it would be unsolved, but there wouldn't be a mountain of coincidences and anomalies. So, like, for example, there'd be video of the Saturn at UMass that weekend. Even if the case wouldn't have been solved and wasn't solved, there'd still be all those things. And there wouldn't be these DC circles and countless people connected to these DC circles. There wouldn't have been U.S. Marshal and DEA activity coincidentally that night in Haverhill, this small hamlet in the middle of nowhere. So, you know, most likely, if I had to guess, some kind of overlap of several different things which is extremely unlikely. So this is definitely, whatever the truth is, it would be in the unlikely category. But unlikely doesn't mean untrue. Just like whoever wins the lottery, it was very unlikely for them to have won, but they still won. Rune, are you pure AI, Bruce? I don't know. I exist outside of time and space, so I guess anything's possible. Have you tried the Alex Jones conspiracy bourbon? It's actually really good. I do not drink alcohol. Gotta keep the brain sharp. Sue Ellen Thomas, did you ever dive into Eric Prince, Blackwater brother to Betsy DeVos Amway family? They're from West Michigan too, Holland. Not specifically, no. Just I've seen comments similar to yours that bring them up, but I've never gone down those rabbit holes. Olive Meal, Bruce, in my opinion, JR ruins your show. You're great, and the flow of your solo shows are really good, but a lot of great topics get ruined with JR. A lot of people think that, but on the other hand, some people think JR is funny, so I don't know. Guess maybe we'll try for the best of all worlds. I mean, I do a lot of podcasts solo. Also, bring back Maxwell Powers on future Murray episodes. Panda Master Bear. Good to see. Run Boston Bear. Hello, Pepperoni Audits. Art Barley, do you really believe Putin is really as bad as we're led to believe? Or is he Trumpish in the fact the NWO sees him as a problem and he has a massive smear campaign on him? Russians, I know, have said most is BS. Okay. Wow, that's quite the can of worms, R. Barley 18, but I will give my analysis on Putin. I think I went over this on the geopolitics episode on the Russia-Ukraine war with the one and only Maxwell Powers. I don't think it's a false dichotomy, so it's possible. Well, there's definitely a propaganda smear campaign. That's a fact. Whether it's deserving or not, that's up to interpretation. I don't think he's that benevolent in general, just based on a lot of the information and wars over the decades that he's been involved in. However, I'm also not sure if he's for or against the NWO, because if he's against them, I mean, he does have ties to the World Economic Forum, and he had ties to all these individuals decades and decades ago. Now, was that because he wanted to keep his enemies close? If so, and he's this 3-4D chess player, then perhaps it's all propaganda. But if not, and he really is one of them, but possibly wants his own brand of the NWO, that's kind of not necessarily directly affiliated. I mean, I don't know. It's tough. Some people think he already died and was replaced as well. So, yeah, that's definitely a rabbit hole in and of itself. Run Boston Bear. At this point, I think people are so hungry for truth they are returning to the basics. It feels good to know you are approaching. Yeah, that's a good point. If you haven't checked out the podcast, on confusion, manufactured confusion, and how the rise of the digital information age has kind of ran that out of control. But yeah, Run Boston Bear, the more you learn about logic, the more you have to return to the basics. You have to return to square one, if for nothing else, just to verify further information, to make sure you're not building a house of cards. Like, let's say you're building something legitimate. It doesn't hurt to return to the base layers just to confirm that. Hello, Laura Pintosack. What do you make of Bob Lazar and his Air 51 claims? I did a whole podcast on Bob Lazar. Multiple hours. I was surprised by issues with his first wife and the Hells Angels, and there's a lot of shady business there. But it appears, I think he might be being truthful, and he's just being used as a useful idiot. So if Project Bluebeam is in fact true, then he would be telling the truth and passing all the lie detector tests, because obviously they wouldn't have let him in on that if they were trying to see what would happen in some kind of leak situation. Just saying, what is your opinion of Jim Fetzer? and his work. Not that familiar with it. He's got a lot of defamation suits, I believe, but I haven't really examined him extensively. Mr. One-to-One, computers don't drink. I don't know. Some of these new computer robots, maybe they can. So Alan Dormos, I call them rabbit holes. Yeah, yeah. Dead Sea Steve, hey there. Question about the Delphi case. Have you seen the Bobby Cam Worth channel on YouTube? Give a hint. It was Richard Allen 2 years before his arrest. I'm trying to remember. I think I went over that on the Richard Allen podcast, the first one, that there were tips about him. I don't remember the source of that, Bobby Camworth. Yeah, I don't know if that was the source, but I did talk about how there was at least one or two people who did point the finger at him years before. Almio Bruce, are you taking notes right now? If yes, after you write down research uncorrupt bodies of saints, write down research communitarianism. I mean, I'll go over the chat later, but normally I just make folders and then review them in not any specific order. I haven't extensively looked at communitarianism. Is that like was that the middle ground kind of, as opposed to, is that statist or non-statist ideology? Or was it kind of room for both? Ivan Mecton, loving the Q&A, Bruce. Best globe proof. Well, like I said, a lot of the proofs for even, let's say, curvature wouldn't prove a globe. Because, for example, if it's like the lens of an eye, it could be a convex type surface, which would have curvature, but it could still be a snow globe, effectively a flat plane. So even good proofs for curvature do not point exclusively to a sphere. Similarly, geocentric versus heliocentric proofs. If you're looking at heavenly bodies, whether they're moving or not moving doesn't exclusively prove either theory. Did you see Jim Fetzer on Journism talking with Whitsitt and Jern? Jim got destroyed. No, I didn't see that one. Is there anybody who doesn't get destroyed against Whitsitt? Whitsitt's like the opposite of Destiny. Like, I've never seen Destiny not get destroyed, and I've never seen Whitsitt not destroying somebody. Whoever's against Whitsitt always gets destroyed. And Destiny, no matter who he's against, he's always getting destroyed. Ryan Boston Bear, Crow 777 Radio has been a great resource for learning also. Thank you for the recommendation on the manufacturing confusion patch, guys. Yeah, I haven't looked at anything Crow 777 in a while. But yeah, he was kind of big a long time ago. Laura, Bruce, you were definitely ahead of the times on Defo case with the Odinism. Well, that's why I always repeat that early rumors, in so many cases, I'm not going to ascribe a percentage. Maybe it's 30%, maybe it's 60%, maybe it's 80%. Some of the rumors, there's truth there. There's something, some kind of base truth. Even if maybe it's not entirely accurate, but a lot of coincidence they just immediately write off rumors as untrue. I mean, you can accurately label them rumors, but that doesn't mean they're not true. So early rumors in many cases turn out to be true. And regarding unsolved cases, you wouldn't know whether they were true or not. Panda Master Bear, I think two separate teams of sailboats. One circumnavigates the inner circle and the outer circle. That's tough too, because again, you'd have to verify continents in relation to each other. Mr. One to One, anti-establishment terrorism. What's your thoughts on the longest word in the dictionary? Is that the longest word? Let's double check. Google's putting up and Wikipedia is putting up the longest word is pneumonuclear-microscopic silicovolcanoconiosis. 45 letters. Refers to a lung disease contracted from the inhalation of very fine silica particles, specifically from a volcano. Because that happens so often, but yeah. What type of fallacy triggers you the most? I mean, I wouldn't say I get triggered by fallacies. I find them funny, kind of like Dunning-Kruger silence. That's why I examine the links between psychology and logic or lack of logic. I mean, some fallacies, I guess, like, I guess the etymological logical fallacies or no true Scotsman's fallacies are kind of annoying because people should know by now that words, if you're using general words, I'm not talking about super specific scientific or mathematic terms, but just in general everyday conversation, words have multiple definitions. That's why when you look in the dictionary, there's definition 1, 2, 3, 4. There's even a shades of meaning section where you can use the word slightly not as strictly defined, and it could still be accurate because there's an established precedent for doing so. So that's one of the most annoying fallacies. Kind of like, oh, you don't know what science is. Well, science is a general umbrella term. Like, scientific method is very specific. But some of the more general terms it can be a little annoying when it's just spammed ad nauseum. Circular reasoning is also kind of annoying because, again, you're literally going in circles. What's the point of that? But I don't know if I'm triggered by them. It's just, I like variety. So, like, let's hit multiple different types of fallacies, not keep spamming the same ones like Craig. Tsutsaka, at what point to you does scientism stop becoming a religion? So that's like asking, at what point does Christianity stop being a religion? A malformed question. If it stops being a religion, it's not a religion in the first place. Tsutsako was having some trouble with basic English in the earlier live Q&A today as well. R. Barley 18, I know this is Mindshock, but there's no way Keegan Klein has no involvement in this case. Too many coincidences for him to have no involvement whatsoever, but Delphi area seems like pedo central. Yeah, Keegan Klein's a tough one, because even if we don't consider that he's looking up directions to the nearby gas station, all those other things, like, there's just so much there. When you put it all together, it's kind of a problem to say that he's not involved at all. Bruce, do you believe that faith in God is an appeal to authority? Well, if it's faith, you're admitting that the basis for it is belief. So logical fallacies deal with validity. If you're admitting it's belief, then it wouldn't be a fallacy. San Pedro, what topic would you be interested in debating? I'm actually not even that interested in debating. A lot of people want me to debate or even moderate. I'm not really interested in either of those things simply because the format of debates is just not conducive to productivity. It's mostly just people either talking in circles because they don't understand basic definitions, or they're just there to argue and play gotcha, and there's just no good faith debate to be had. So I think there's much more to be learned from doing analysis like the way I do, where you're just comparing performances. So you could learn a lot more. Lower. The PT Cruiser is hard to untie Keegan Klein from the case. Well, not just that, but the admitted activity. I mean, he's one of the last people, if not the last person, to talk to Libby or whatever interaction with the social media accounts, regardless of who's doing the interaction exactly. You can't write that off. That's weird. Russell B. Cook. Yeah, we got the Keegan Klein up in here. Tutsaka, thanks for confirming that the belief of science is not a religion. Wow. The fallacy. I mean, that's like a double super fallacy, Tutsaka. I mean, you don't even know what any of those words mean. And you're presupposing there was a confirmation in that based on not understanding any of the definitions, or that there even could be a confirmation of something that's completely malformed. Scientism is not the belief in science. So you might want to get I did a podcast on Scientism Simplified. Listen to that, preferably with an English tutor, because it doesn't seem like you're even on like a first or second English grade level. And then I went through the differences between science and scientism. There's no stopping or starting. It's kind of like, well, when does Hinduism become Christianity? It doesn't. They're unique entities. Olive meal. I said faith with a capital F, not belief. Can you have faith without belief, though? Because the definition of faith is strong belief in God or a supernatural entity or something in the spiritual realm, as opposed to tangible, scientific method aligned concepts. The king marionette in the chat, yeah. Tutsaka is like, I don't think he's a hater. I think he's just a confused fan and his subconscious is crying out for help, so we'll do our best to help him out here. Rodney, hey Bruce, have you heard that King Henry VIII delayed the Industrial Revolution? It could have started in the 16th century. Well, again, it's very difficult to verify any of those dates. There are a lot of Henry VIII theories. Some people think he's Alex Jones reincarnated. Compare the images of them. They look exactly the same. Pinto's like, do you put Bill Nye the Science Guy up to Neil Tyson level? Oh man, they have unique brands of Dunning-Kruger, so put up, like, comparing them, like, they're different brands of Dunning-Kruger narcissists. Bill Nye probably is a little bit more innocuous, but I don't know. I mean, he was literally a comedian, I believe, before he turned to science grifting, or scientism grifting, rather. So we got 46 watching, so it's a little bit more than earlier in the day. I actually don't remember what we peaked at last night. I don't know, maybe more people are starting to get notifications. Tutsaka, is it entirely possible for you to stop your own cliche little attempts of insults? Then again, the more you're going about, the less you can ever be taken seriously. So, okay. Is calling a duck an insult, though? So you don't know the definition of insult either. An insult requires an intention to offend. I have not intended to offend you. My intention is to accurately and objectively call a duck. So if I see a duck waddling and quacking, if I'm calling out the waddling and the quacking, those aren't insults. So if you don't know the definition of those words, which you appear not to, unless you're intentionally trolling or humiliating yourself on purpose by pretending to be a lot dumber than you actually are, it's not an insult on my part. And taken seriously by whom? I mean, two issues there. One, are you hallucinating that I want to be taken seriously by anyone, let alone people who aren't even on a first grade English level? You really think I care whether I want to be taken seriously by people who aren't on a first grade English level? Why would anybody care about being taken seriously in the first place? This is the whole point of logic. You're looking at objective objectivity, whether something is valid or not. Now, brain dead goofs, I mean, if they know they're too dumb to determine that for themselves, they might be looking for other people to desperately take the word of. So then they would hallucinate credibility levels. Oh, this guy has a degree from indoctrination facility A, this other one's got 2 degrees from indoctrination facility B. Maybe the guy with 2 degrees is more credible, so let's just put blind faith in that guy instead of learning logic and reason for yourself, if you're too mentally weak to do that, Tutsaka. But thanks again for proving my point. That's why we welcome the Dunning-Kruger crowd here. Sewell and Dornbus, could you give a short synopsis of your opinion on the Daybell case? I did the whole podcast on the Daybell case. There's a lot of missing pieces there, but like a lot of these cases, I believe there were more people involved and it's not so cut and dry and it intersects with other cases. Not necessarily directly, but there's just so many issues there. Olive Meal. Bruce, who do you think created your reality and the matter made of the earth that you interact with? Who made everything? Well, again, there's not enough information to answer that question. If it's an intelligent designer, I mean, we wouldn't really be able to know much about them. Same thing as a character in a video game. How much can they know about the video game designer? Unless maybe they were specifically programmed to be able to know. Could Donald Trump be Aleister Crowley? That's a new one, Dave Scott. I haven't seen that before. Tutsaka, you definitely do try to offend. So now you're hallucinating to know my intentions. So do you realize how dumb that is? You do nothing but barefaced lie. So you do nothing but psychologically project, it seems, because I mean, your subconscious is crying out for help, buddy. I guess that's why you're here. Run Boston Bear, I sent your live Q&A link to many Telegram channels I follow. Glad people are showing up. Oh, thanks, Run Boston Bear. What do you think of the format of Debatism on Jaren's channel? He was asking everyone the other day how it should be tweaked. I should ask what's the best layout for debate. So I actually went over this on a few different podcasts. One of the primary, there's 2 main issues that I see, other than whether it's good faith or not. Because some people say it doesn't matter if it's good faith because you're doing it for the audience. But either way, these are 2 issues. One, even smart people on either side of an issue, if they're too narcissistic, they assume they already know the definition of certain basic words when they don't. And this causes countless hours of wasted time. So at the beginning, I think the easiest way would maybe even to set it up like a court case where the defense and prosecution both know what the evidence is so they can prepare for it. So maybe a bullet point list of the things that are going to be gone over. And then people might be less likely to just want to troll and play gotcha just for sound bites. Because let's say you can submit 10 points for examination. So that way at the beginning, whatever words are prerequisites to understand the definition of, I mean, scientific method would be there, that you have to have variables and controls. Because obviously Craig doesn't know that, so then it's just countless hours wasted. So on the at the outset of the podcast, right at the beginning, it's almost like each side would have to pass a mini quiz. And if they can't, there's no point in the debate. And then the second issue is just the constant interrupting and filibustering, where there should be an option to send like a train horn through the headphones of only the person who's intentionally interrupting, yelling, or trying to curse out the other person. Just having mental breakdowns. So that way that would stop, because muting is not enough, because if they don't even know that they're muted, it's still a waste of time. So in that kind of situation, those are just 2 points that I think would lead to more efficient and conducive debates. Logic is offensive to illogical people. Indeed, I mean, look at how offended Tutsaka is in here, hallucinating to know what other people's intentions even are. Or Barley18. You ever heard the rumor Libby was trying to start a YouTube channel to bust Pato? Yeah. I didn't specifically hear that's why she was filming, because we don't even know. I did an episode on trail cams. Based on the angle of the video, it's actually hard to tell whether it was really from the phone or from a trail cam? Because it looks like it could be angled down. It's hard to determine definitively, again, just based on all the different features of the phones, and how much, I don't know how much stabilization would change angles, but it seems like it could have been taken from a trail cam as well. But yeah, the rumor that she was going to speak with police was out there early. Sander, Missy Beaver case targeted or not? That's another tough one. I'd have to lean targeted just because of how unenthusiastic the perpetrator appeared to be in causing damage to the church or even stealing stuff. It almost looked like it was just a cover in order to get to her. And most women, most females that meet with foul play are at the hands of someone known to them. Usually boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, but if it could also be another female. Someone known to them is a greater likelihood than... Now, that doesn't mean that happened in that case, but there's a lot of funny business with the police as well, if you haven't checked out the Missy case on Mindshock. Pakua McIver, hey Bruce, not a question, but if you had time, I wouldn't mind an analysis on Dr. Shiva Ayurdurai, an interesting character. His latest podcast on YouTube, How to Stop Being Fooled. Wow, I didn't even know he was still putting out stuff. I haven't seen his stuff in a while, but he seemed to be quite sharp. I had seen his stuff a number of years back. I thought he just disappeared, actually, but I mean, I haven't tried to specifically look him up recently. But after the initial hoopla over certain medical issues, it seemed to me he kind of disappeared, but maybe he didn't. Was he banned on Twitter? I don't know. A lot of other people got unbanned, so yeah, I'd be curious whether he's back or not. Olive Meal, Bruce, have you ever read in the Bible that Jesus founded the Catholic Greek for throughout all church and gave it to Peter? That theory? Honestly, I don't remember. There's so many different theories. It's not one I've spent time on, though. Is there something to it? Would you say that that's one to spend more time than others? If Trump is Aleister Crowley, then wouldn't that make Trump Bush's... Wow, I mean, you're getting into dicey territory, just saying. Dicey territory. Dave Scott, just saying he looks like Crowley with a wig to me. It just came to me when... I might have to do a podcast on that. I mean, the familial line implications of that would be astounding. Particularly with Crowley's grandson working as a production designer on big Hollywood movies, like with Nolan. Did the U.S. allow Israel to attack the USS Liberty in 1967? Would that be allowed on YouTube, Ivan Mecton? I don't know. Yeah, I've heard that theory. A lot of funny business with a lot of military activity. All right, Burley. I heard Missy was sending risque pictures to a lot of people. May have chosen the wrong woman's man. I am 95% convinced that's a woman in the costume. It could be. It could be. Do you think we should have Matt Walsh do an analysis on that? Lightwalkers, what about the Madison Scott case? You have the best layout and comprehensive podcast on her and Missy Beavers. Yeah, I mean, that was also a haunting one that should have been solved a lot earlier. I haven't checked that case for updates recently, since my episode 2. It seems like the individuals are known, so I'm not sure what the holdup would be. But a lot of these cases, even that get an update when a body is found, it's like everything goes silent. Like, I'm just looking up the news on Google. The last article on Maddie Scott is October 24th, 2023. And there's really not much more. Like Brandon Lawson also, a body is found, but it hasn't been, I don't think it was confirmed. There were clothes consistent with what he was wearing, but I don't know if he was wearing unique clothes or just like jeans and a shirt that a million other people also wear. Pinto Sack, what's the one thing you grew up believing but then realized it was all crap from doing your own logical? That's the thing. I never really believed or disbelieved. I kind of went over this on the earlier Q&A today, that I noticed that teachers didn't have the same confidence in answering questions about history or science that, well, it depends in science, like certain basic chemical reactions, they had the confidence, but in terms of bigger theories and concepts, they just didn't have the confidence in answering the questions. They just defaulted to faith to the textbook, and they could rarely explain how it was known to be put in the textbook. Because the textbooks are purporting what is the truth. They don't really explain how it was determined. So that was an issue. In terms of grow up believing, I guess, I mean, that's the other thing too. Did I realize it was all crap? Like, I've looked at geocentrism for over 20 years now. I don't know if I determined that heliocentrism was crap. There were just many, many questions, so it's unknown categories. I think your question's more like something that was found to be false. I guess the official story of 9/11, I mean, I know there were people day of who were questioning it. Columbine also, just from doing further objective logical research, the official narrative falls apart. That doesn't mean you know what actually did happen, because I have no clue what did happen. It's just the official narrative has so many holes. Just saying, have you ever covered the Boys on the Track case from Nemo, Arkansas? And if not, are you going to? Yeah, it's on the list. I have a list of dozens of cases that I'll eventually get to, but a lot of the research is done in stages. Mr. One-to-One, is this the only channel with free speech on a live chat with no mods and all questions answered? I think so. I mean, I'm a mod. I mean, if people start sometimes trolls just start spamming chat with profanity and stuff, they'll get booted. But yeah, I mean, even like that Tutsaka goof, as long as he's being relatively civil, he's actually providing good educational material on the Dunning-Kruger effect, projection, logic fallacies, etc. So it's useful. Or Burley, what did the elites do to piss off Trump that he turned on them? So that's okay. So I have a podcast coming up on the Trump enigma, because he truly is an enigma. I mean, I think he's the only president that has a derangement syndrome named after him. And I don't know that he did anything. So your question was, what did the elites do? I mean, I think it was more of a case of they just used him as a sacrificial lamb, because everybody loved him. All of the Hollywood celebs and just these political figures and so-called elites, if you go back to his talk show appearances, magazine interviews from the past few decades before he ever announced running for president, he was like a media darling. So I think it was they turned on him, not the other way around. And then I guess he'd be pissed off about that. But also, if you believe he's smart, he probably knew that was going to happen. Like, if you think this is all above board and he's not a knowing, useful idiot, like if you actually think he's genuine in trying to help the country and the people, he must have had the intelligence and foresight to know that this was a real possibility when he was calling out the swamp. Or it's just a big show. Pakua MacGyver, yes, he was banned on Twitter. He's running for president using the 14th Amendment as his way in. Are you talking about Shiva Ayyadurai? Laura, there's a case out of the UK that you may find interesting into, unsolved since 86, Susie Lampla. Was that, did you or someone else request that? That sounds familiar. Olive Bruce, I think this is the chillest chat room. Thanks for being cool and attracting chill people. You got it. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing too. Like, a lot of people criticize my sense of humor or whatever. Like, if you don't have a sense of humor, you're going to go insane, especially looking at some of these topics or true crime cases. I mean, I would never laugh at victims or anything gruesome, obviously. But there are certain situations that are ludicrous, like the way they set up Stephen Avery, whether he's innocent or guilty, just the setup itself, what the state is alleging you to believe. I mean, it's downright ludicrous. I mean, it's insane. But yeah, we got to keep it chill. Beck, yeah. Tutsaka, so listened to a bit of the vid you mentioned. Do you think it's any way a benefit to learn the science that is taught to us as in college level and above to have a better understanding? So again, you still don't know what the word science means. They teach the scientific method in college. I mean, they teach it as early as even there's preschool worksheets with it. Of course, there's a benefit to learning the scientific method. Science is a methodology. It's not a destination. So learning correct methodology and applying it is key. The problem is when you're asked to take on faith where the application of the scientific method was not demonstrated. Tutsaka, also appreciate the Dunning-Kruger call out. Let me know I'm in the right direction. You think Dunning-Kruger is the right direction? Or brother, yeah, I mean, he was an elite, then out of nowhere he came to see them down. Trump, yeah, it's weird. And if you haven't checked out the Trump-Tesla Connection podcast on Mindshock, check that out. Yeah, Cicada, Rodney. Yeah, that's actually on the list for. I have a podcast episode on that. So Ellen, opinion on Tim Ballard. So I haven't really done enough, but I can give an initial opinion just on the fact that I mean, I don't know how. I mean, obviously, there's many people involved with Operation Underground Railroad and the Sound of Freedom film, but my podcast on Johnny Gosh, The Sound of Freedom, actually copyright struck it, even though I didn't use anything from The Sound of Freedom. I appealed, and obviously I won, but I thought it was interesting that they would be striking podcasts bringing awareness to potential trafficking cases. Laura said, I haven't requested before. Susie Lamplight case is interesting as police tried to pin it on a known killer by the looks of it just to get it off the books. Yeah, that's really sad. I mean, if a known killer is already in prison, then that's even worse because you're not even using the excuse of getting a killer off the street. But getting the wrong person off the street, even if they are a killer, that's not justice to the victim. Because that's not the person who harmed them. Yeah, we got over 40 people in here and only 24 likes. What's up with that? YouTube algo needs to have a better ratio. Or Barley, do any other podcasts reach out to have you on? I've never seen you anywhere else. Just see a lot of YouTubers around here, which is crazy. Yeah, a lot. Again, I mean, even though I exist outside of time and space, other people do not. So there's certain scheduling issues. Eddie Bravo invited me on his podcast on a rock fin, so that would probably be one of the first ones I do. I'm just behind on so many podcasts. Finn asked, do you know about the Blackpool kebab murder in England? It's been covered up here in the UK. I don't believe so. Is that recent? Captain Hatnan. This guy's been a long time troll. I appreciate the dedication, Captain. Can you briefly describe Run Z Cow's debunking of relativity? Check out the video. I mean, basically, it's kind of what I was talking about before. When you're building a house of cards like relativity, you have to examine the base layers. If you get lost arguing about the top couple layers of a house of cards, it doesn't matter. It's all a waste of time. Mr. One-to-One, definitely a very chilled chat. I don't remember seeing a chat this civil ever before on YouTube. I mean, I don't know. Most of them, I mean, we got Captain in here and that other Tutsaka goof. But yeah, they're being somewhat civil even for trolling. Definitely a lot chiller than Reddit. Wow, Tsutsaka, you might want to retract that comment. The scientific method is a foundation for teaching teens what science is all about. I mean, there's preschool workouts. It's not just for teens. I mean, I don't know if that's when you got to it, if you were kind of in special ed classes, but it's not something you follow religiously for absolutely everything. No, just science. Obviously, you don't need to follow it for anything that's not scientific. Dark Side of the Moon, agree, Mr. One. At least the scientific method of how you think. Nothing to do with me. I mean, the scientific, you could go to Google and, I mean, every website will give you the scientific method. It's not something that's disputed. It's not disputed that you need independent, dependent variable and control. Like, that's not disputed. By, I mean, I haven't seen it disputed. I think Craig is the only guy, but the Fight the Flat Earth guy with his mental condition. He's the only guy that was hallucinating that observations can be experiments and that you don't need manipulation of variables or controls or any of that. He's the only guy. I haven't seen anybody else dispute what the scientific method is. I mean, it's kind of like basic English. People aren't disputing how many letters are in the English language. It's not something that, I mean, maybe the severely mentally ill, but do you know any Freemasons, Obrecht? Yeah, quite a few. No high-ranking ones. Finn, they're doing an Operation Gladio on Trump's strategy of tension. Works every time. Yeah, it does indeed, doesn't it? Dave, are you simulcast not seeing the questions you are answering in the chat? Do you have top chat on or live chat? All comments are visible. Because top chat, I don't know how that's ranked, but you have to enable live chat to see all the comments, and if it's not working, then it might be your connection. But no, I'm not simulcasting. This is YouTube only right now. Who is Flatzoid? But I don't, it's actually kind of funny. It all makes sense now. Like, you haven't demonstrated that anything makes sense to you. So how much is your perception of something making sense to you worth? That's a question you gotta ask yourself, Tutsaka. Do you know what a fish says when it hits a cement wall? Damn. Captain is too triggered to answer. I understand your response, bro. Just saying, with all of the lone nut theorists in the JFK community, why don't there seem to be any in the case of his brother RFK? I need to do a podcast on RFK. If you haven't checked out the JFK podcast, I did a pretty extensive one. I have a couple more episodes coming. I mean, that's one of the biggest cesspool conspiracies ever. Just the amount of intersections, coincidences, and anomalies in the JFK is just unbelievable. I don't think there's as many in RFK or Martin Luther King or some of these other assassinations, but I didn't say you were definitely a troll. I mean, you could just be, if you have a mental disability, you're not a troll. You're just doing your best. Run Boston Bear. Bruce, would you be willing to hop on Witsit stream to discuss logic at some point? Yeah, like I said, I mean, just scheduling wise. Like right now, I just got a new mic, so I've been kind of testing it out for these Q&A streams, and so many people ask so many questions in the comments. I thought it'd be easier to do some of these and more time efficient. Finn, some years ago, a food shop murdered a 14-year-old girl, fed her to their customers, They faffed the case and they got 2 million in compensation. There's a few uploads on YouTube. That's very gruesome and disturbing, and unfortunately, I don't think that's the only case out there of that happening. Could relativity be debunked by the electric universe theory? Yeah, easily, but you don't even need to go there because relativity debunks itself. Just check out the Run Z Cow podcast. Twisting the words. Can you give me an example of twisting? Because I was very clear. There's no twisting. Can you teach me what fallacy that comes under? Twisting words? Well, a straw man would be to create an argument that you didn't actually make and refute that argument. I mean, that could be a version of twisting words. But clearly that's not what I did, but so you're the one who would be straw manning in that situation. Nearly fell asleep just typing that F word. Yeah, I mean, if your brain function is that limited that you can't stay awake, I mean, you probably shouldn't be on a YouTube live chat. You probably have some medical issues. Mr. One-to-One. Yeah, for some reason the top chat is default and the live chat is not, so you'll miss a lot of comments if you're only on top chat. Again, the YouTube algo is weird. I mean, sometimes it seems there's no rhyme or reason for it. I don't know who Flatsoid is, but I mean, you can keep those non sequiturs coming if you want. Yeah, I don't know. Top chat. I don't know if that's maybe. I guess that's just a stricter filter because it says some messages such as potential spam may not be visible. So I don't know, maybe it's ranked by people with the most subscribers would be less likely to be spamming, maybe? I mean, I have no idea how YouTube would determine that. I answered your questions as properly as possible, Tsutsaka. I don't know how to. Again, if you're not even on a first grade English level, I can't dumb it down further. So I mean, that's the best I can do. A medical issue of being an absolute Chad. Would a Chad be humiliating themselves in a YouTube live chat, demonstrating that they're not on a first grade English level? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know what Tutsaka's deal is. I don't claim anything is true or untrue. Pinto, do you play any musical instruments? Yeah, all of them. Yeah, what's your favorite singer? I like diversity. People ask me that with food too. I mean, my favorite is not having a favorite. My favorite is having lots of options. Okay, we got any bunkers questions? This is going to be a short one. I might jump on again later today, but I'm probably going to go another 10 minutes maybe. I also have another Jean-Benet Ramsey podcast either tonight or tomorrow with some information nobody's talking about and a possible smoking gun. I don't think that's a YouTube question, Captain. I never got the obsession with just skin color. Like, why not eye color? Why don't people classify by eye color or hair color? It's kind of a weird thing to just arbitrarily pick something to obsess. Am I doing the Matt Walsh video day? Probably tomorrow. It's a top priority as well, though. As soon as I saw that it was a thing, I knew I wanted to get to it quick, just because he's so hard to read. Sue Ellen, regarding JFK, Lee Harvey Oswald was in the same Civil Air Patrol as Barry Seal. Wow. I don't know if I remember reading that. I broadcast from outside time and space itself. I cannot confirm I am in the dimension that everybody else is in either. Realism. Whose opinion of realism? In order for there to be more than one human race, there's a certain amount of genetic diversity that needs to be met. So I don't know how old you are, Captain, but if you play video games, for example, like a different race would be like humans with wings. So then you could say there are different races. Pigmentation of skin is not enough genetic diversity to subclassify in additional races. There's the human race. We're all part of one race. That's why it's called the human race. My thoughts on Nick Fuentes. I don't have a lot of thoughts. I haven't seen enough of his stuff. I've seen little bits and pieces. I mean, if there's a specific debate, I mean, he's pretty well spoken. I haven't done like a micro expression analysis to know whether he's trolling or not, but he might be trolling. I don't know. All right, final questions. Final questions. What do you got? Bueller. Yeah, Captain, no problem. Wolfgang's an interesting character as well. Yeah, I don't know. There seems to be so much more going on with a lot of those conspiracies. You definitely should, Tsutsaka, because if you knew what science was, then you wouldn't have to humiliate yourself in YouTube live chats. Wow, Pete Sampson, that's dark. That's dark. I do not think that occurred. All right, final questions. Let's go. Let's get one good, funny question for the last one. Thank you, Pakwa. You as well. We need a good question to go out on. Something mind-shocking. Do you think it was the doorman that killed John? Which John are you talking about? Come on, Tsutsaka. If you don't understand what English is, what you think of other people's comprehension is worth what? Yeah, Tsutsaka's a big fan here. Did I get nervous releasing the Sandy Hook episode? No, because first of all, I don't claim anything is true or untrue. I do not confirm or deny anything. And for the sake of argument, I kind of said, let's say it happened exactly as they said in terms of what was reported. That doesn't mean that it wasn't set up prior to unravel that way, even if we don't dispute any of the so-called reported facts. Kathy O'Brien on Reptoids. We talked about Kathy O'Brien earlier in this podcast. I don't know what to think about reptoids. You mean reptilian aliens? David Icke theory? I need to do a dedicated podcast on that. It's a tough one. I think I might have to side with David Icke in terms of, I don't know if the people are lying. They believe they saw what they said they saw. Is part of MK Ultra Monarch programming, is part of that, would that cause, so two sides to that. Either the interdimensional reptilian alien shapeshifters are real, and perhaps going through the MK Ultra Monarch programming enables you to see them better, or mid-shift or whatever. Or if they're not real, is that a side effect of the MK Ultra Monarch programming? Either way, that wouldn't involve these people from lying, saying they're lying. They might be telling the truth as they believe it. How many genders are in your dimension, bro? Maybe I'm the only entity in the dimension I am in. Alright, so that's it for now. I'm gonna release a Jean Benet episode later, and might do another short live at some point just to compare people's time zones and such. So thanks again, everybody, for joining the Mindshock podcast Q&A. This is